currently driving out to Wallaman Falls, which I've heard is quite impressive.
Hey guys.
Oh my lord, check out how windy this road is. This morning we are at Wallaman Falls and we have hit the wet tropics in Queensland, which is super exciting. I've been told all about the tropical fruits that we will soon be eating. But this morning we're going to hike down to what I assume is the bottom of Wallaman Falls, which is the tallest single drop waterfall in Australia.
Wow.
Really cool. Very impressive. There is so much power behind that. What did it say? It was almost 300 meters. 300 meters! Wow! The walk to the bottom of Wallaman Falls is about 2 kilometers and it descends straight down through some exceptionally lush rainforest. This walk is exactly what I needed to get both the heart and the soul pumping. Singing trees! While it's sometimes a little hard not to be thinking about how every step down to the waterfall equals a very hard step back up, this hike was 100% worth it. I'm getting closer. Oh, there's a rainbow! The best way that I can describe the base of Wallaman Falls is that it's like stepping into some kind of Jurassic time capsule.
This is incredible. This is otherworldly. If you're ever in this area, you have to come down here. That hike was a little bit sketchy and we now have to walk back up, obviously. 300 meter high waterfall, 300 meter high elevation change. But oh my god, this is amazing. Starts our mission back up to the van.
We've just had a lovely night camping in the national park and now we're making this steady descent back down that crazy windy hill.
Hey, we're heading down. Do you need a lift?
With an escort of cattle by our side, we left the beautiful Wallaman Falls with Bingal Bay in our sights. These long country drives have a unique way of clearing the mind. With just a straight road ahead, I feel like I'm giving myself a bit of time to process emotions, gain perspective, and simply enjoy the peacefulness of the moment. This week and the coming weeks ahead, we are traversing through some pretty special landscape. In this part of far north Queensland, where the rainforest meets the sea, 2 World Heritage Sites collide and offer an abundance of beauty. We were lucky enough to nab a site at the highly coveted Bingal Bay campground, which has uninterrupted beachfront views and only 8 sites to offer. The next morning we woke up nice and early to enjoy our coffee with the sun rising out of the ocean. Lately, I've been thinking a lot about productivity and success. All my life, I've pressured myself to be in a constant state of on. Slowing down isn't about doing less, but it's about making the space for what I find is important and remembering to live intentionally. Only a few months ago, I don't believe I was doing that at all. I just know it's going to be mornings like this that I look back upon with a greater fondness than anything else.
It's an honor timer system still, but it's got F+.
So what should we get?
This is my dream. That's a contradiction. It's a good amount of bananas for $3.
The next destination in our far north Queensland exploration was the small town of Babinda, and the must-see of this area are the Babinda Boulders, which are just a short drive off the Bruce Highway. With only a couple of steps into the rainforest, you are greeted with the babbling brook of the boulders and a barrage of butterflies. The walks around here are very leisurely, and there are a few popular swim spots for cooling off in the tropical heat.
Just gotten back from a afternoon swim at the Babinda Boulders, which was beautiful, absolutely beautiful, so refreshing, perfect temperature, quite busy, but now we're staying at the free camping site that's next to the boulders, which is a smaller free camp. It's quite lovely and walking distance to having a swim. There are 2 safe swimming spots where you are allowed to go for a dip, but there are other sections that have been closed off, I think relatively recently, and that's called the Devil's Pools, aptly named, and the Chute. And that's because over the past, what was it, 100 years about?
Since 65, right? Oh, no, it would be
I think it was in 1918, yeah. The last 100 years, over 20 people have died, and in the last 5 years alone, I think 3 people have died in that area. And there was a lot of information about how you could quite easily be pulled underwater in this particular location because of the way that the boulders have formed. It might look quite gentle and calm on top, but really there are torrents of water that would quickly pull you under. Absolutely do be smart about where you go swimming here. But other than that, this area was beautiful to explore. The rainforest was so lush, the tracks well maintained, and we saw plenty of butterflies. And once you're done exploring the boulders, make sure you check out the bakery in town.
The next day in Babinda was a classic quiet day. Always a funny one when the biggest task is just figuring out what you feel like eating.
We've got to soak some chickpeas.
Yes. What else do we need to do today?
We never think about lunch, and then we got to think about dinner.
After a night spent off-grid up in the Boulders free camp, we made the long 10-minute journey down to the other free camp in Babinda. This spot is an RV rest stop run by the local Rotary Club.
Yeah.
It's much larger than the Boulders camp and a lot more popular. Even though it's quite busy here, I feel like these sites make you feel like you're part of that larger nomadic community.
Are you enjoying that book?
I'm up to page 1.
Okay, well, he's up to page 1, so we'll ask again later. Today has been a quieter day. We have been into town, had a little walk around. Rowan bought a apple turnover, which we'll show you shortly. But we're just gonna keep relaxing and have our afternoon coffee. But I just wanted to shout out these guys. Long Shot Coffee. This has been one of my favorite brews so far, I think. These beans are exceptionally good, so just wanted to let you know. I got them from Townsville. So go and check out Long Shot. We will be going back there for sure. Also have a documentary on YouTube about how they sourced these beans. So maybe if I'm smart enough and can figure it out, I will link it somewhere for everybody to watch. Anyway, let's make a coffee. I feel like everybody else that I see on YouTube has these beautifully curated and decorated vans, and this one always looks like a mess.
I think, although what we know from being out here is that it's basically everybody has a messy van.
That's true. Reality is that vans look like this. We've snuck looks into other people's vans as we walk by at the campsite, and you know, this is reality. I'm not gonna clean it up every day. This is my like 10-year-old Paulex grinder, and it only kind of works still. We have to grind it twice.
Almost 10 years old.
I'm not lying, it is almost 10 years old. That's why it's breaking.
I have a love-hate relationship with when we slow down on the road. It's nice to have some space to breathe, but I also quickly get rather restless.
See? Look at that. Atrocious on the first go. So I have to run it through a second time. It seems that the reason is that this, like the actual ceramic grinder bit, comes loose every time I use it. So, never mind. Ah! Yeah, that was me spilling the coffee. Ah! 3 times grinding and we're ready. Actually, it looks really coarse through the camera. It'll do. These quiet days are always kind of a funny thing for me. There's this, I don't know, like an underlying sense of guilt that I'm not necessarily being productive or making the most of the day, but also there's a sense of relief that comes with it as well. I can take a moment to take stock and reflect on whatever has happened the previous days. Not every day on the road is going to be a massive adventure. Not every day you're going to be chasing waterfalls or going to a pristine, secluded beach. There are some of them, which is amazing. That's so cool. But there are also these days where you will be quiet and not getting up to a hell of a lot. And I think that's necessary to keep things sustainable. It also gives me the opportunity to just relax, also get a little bit of work done, whether that be some work around the van, some tidying up, or some video making. Sometimes some of my art, I wish I was doing a little bit more of that. I am working on my Etsy page, so it's coming. I'm just incredibly slow at it. So let's have a coffee to fuel that process along.
I've always struggled with having 1,000 different desires, directions, and hobbies, but not quite being able to find the time or energy to sustain them. I think I'm still a little hard on myself at the moment for not meeting some of my creative expectations for life on the road. So I am learning to pace myself and let go.
There is this other thing that I constantly forget about that I was justifiably reminded about last week, and that's that I signed up for an online TAFE course a year ago on conservation and ecosystem management, which truly, like, I am so excited to get into that coursework. I've sort of touched the surface. It's well outside my comfort zone. I have been a design professional my entire career, and so to do something science-based is like, I have no idea, and I think that's part of the reason why I'm struggling with it a little bit. These kind of days, they give me the opportunity to actually get that stuff done. Sometimes I think I have what I like to call like the modern world productivity whiplash, and I mean, it's the hustle culture thing, right? Every waking moment you need to be doing something that furthers your position and your credibility in the world. And I'm trying my hardest to start to reject that. Don't get me wrong, I want
I want my life on the road to offer something back, but I don't want to be productive for the sake of it. I want to be intentional with where I'm exerting my energy. She's ready. Just try and tell me that this hasn't been the most chaotic coffee making you've ever seen. Do you want to talk about what you're working on at all?
What's that?
Do you want to talk about what you're working on at all?
Oh yeah, I'm working on some yeah, working.
Ooh.
Firstly, getting back into coding because I haven't coded in a very long time, and working on a simple kind of like conversation starter kind of card deck game. Decks around like appreciating each other, or talking about your interests and hobbies, words of affirmation, a simple kind of way to, I don't know, find things to talk about with your friends.
Yeah.
Still, the styling and stuff, everything needs to be
How cool is that? It like looks amazing already, I think. And it's a whole bunch of curated questions to help you connect with other people.
I'm working on my elevator pitch. It's a good one.
Yeah, no, I'm super proud of you. The fact that this coffee can be this good with my chaotic coffee making is a testament to this roaster, so cheers.
What we have here, everybody, is an apple, passion fruit and lemon turnover. Yesterday I went and got the apple turnover. It was the first turnover I've ever had in my life, and let's just say that my life has turned over.
Babinda Bakery, bringing the goods.
Oh yeah.
Whoa, look at the size of it.
Oh, boom.
Show me the size of it compared to your head there. Not quite what I meant, but I think we get the picture.
10 out of 10, absolutely worth the insulin.
10 out of 10.